So here I have my Windows server running. I'm going to open the server manager here. Click on the server manager. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add roles and features. I'm going to click on add roles and features here. Then I'm going to click on next here. It's a role based or feature based installation. So I'm going to click on next. Then we're going to install it on dc-1 through.local. I'm going to select that server and then I'm going to click on next here. So what we want here is a DHCP server. So I'm going to click on the DHCP server here. I'm going to click on the check mark here of the DHCP server and then add features. Then I'm going to click on next as a default. So we'll leave this on and then click on next again. Click on next again here. It says things to note. You should configure at least one static IP address on this computer before you do that. So I already set it up and I already assigned a static IP address for this server. So I'm going to click on next here. Then I'm going to click on install. If you want that server to automatically restart, then you click on this check mark. In this case, I'm going to say no, I don't want it to check that on. So I'm going to click on install. So the server is starting to install now. So it says configuration required, installation succeeded on dc-1 through.local. So installation is completed. So I'm going to click on close here. Then you see the flag here, the notification. I'm going to click on this notification and it says complete DHCP configuration. So I'm going to click on that complete DHCP configuration. Now the following steps will be performed to complete the configuration of the DHCP server on the target computer. So it says create the following security groups for delegation of DHCP server administration. So in this case I'm going to click on next here and then the following user credentials here. So I'm going to leave this as a default and then I'm going to say commit here. And these are done. I'm going to click on creating security groups, done, and authorizing DHCP server is done. I'm going to click on close here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into these, click on the tools here at the server manager and then go into the DHCP server, DHCP. And then you click on that dc-1 through.local and then click on this down arrow, select that IPv4. In this case we're going to install the IPv4, we're going to configure the IPv4 DHCP IP address. I'm going to right click here, I'm going to say new scope. It's a new scope, so I'm going to click on this wizard is continue. So we're going to click on next here and then what kind of name we're going to provide here. I'm going to say 10 network. It's a 10 network. Next here and then IP starting IP address here, starting IP address 10.0.0. I'm going to start it from 10 and then ending IP address I would say 10.0.0. Let's say 150 and then length of the subnet mask I'm going to change it to 24 and then I'm going to click on next here. It's a DHCP exclusions of delays and these ranges are not distributed by the server. If you wanted to exclude a range of IP addresses, you can exclude it here, or you can exclude a group of ranges. In this, I'm going to leave this as blank. I'm going to click on next here, and then lease duration, how long that the lease of the IP address you want it. I'm going to leave it for 7 days, and then I'm going to click on next here, click on next. Do you want to configure the DHCP option for the scope now, or you can just, if you wanted to configure these options now, no, if you wanted to do it later on. I want to configure these options now, so I'm going to click on yes on this options, and then I'm going to click on next here. Our default gateway IP address is 10.0.0.1, so I'm going to add it here, and then I'm going to click on next. Server name, this is for the DNS configuration. If you have, we already have one DNS server. Let's say you have another a domain controller DNS server, you can add another one here, a redundant one. So in this case, I'm going to click on next here, and the Win server, if you wanted to set up I'm going to leave this as blank, and then click on next here. Do you want to activate this scope now? Yes, I want to activate this scope now, so click on next here and then finish. So the scope is activated now. As you can see, that scope here, the address pool 10.0.0.10 to 10.0.0.150, and there are currently there are no address leases, no reservations. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to boot a computer, and that computer should take that take an IP address from this DHCP server. Let's see that now. I have a Windows 10. I just turned it on now, and we're going to see if that Windows 10 is getting an IP address from this DHCP server, Windows Server 2012. Let's see. I have my Windows 10 is up now, and we're gonna see whether this Windows 10 got the IP address from Windows Server. I'm just gonna log this one in. Just logged in. The way I'm gonna check is I'm gonna go into the command prompt and then enter, go into the command prompt, and then we're gonna see IP config. Yes, it's a connection specific DNS suffix is a third.local, and then IPv4 address is 10.0.0.10, which means it's got an IP address from our DHCP server. For the more information, we're going to go in IP config. All this will show all the lease time and the DNS server information and everything. .local, that's a DNS suffix. The physical address is, that's a MAC address, or DHCP enabled. Yes, it's a DHCP enabled, and the IPv4 address is 10.0.0.10, and the subnet mask with 24-bit mask, and the lease obtained was this date, and then lease expires in 7 days, and the default gateway we set this up as D0.0.10, and our DHCP server is 10.0.0.200. So we're going to verify this with our DNS server also 10.0.0.200. We're going to verify this with our on our server. I'm going to click on the server. I'm going to open the server manager. Then I will go into tools and DHCP. I'm going to click on this DC-1 third.local, and then I'm going to click on IPv4, then click on the scope here, and then address leases. But you could see the address pool. We already saw that the address ranges are from 10.0.0.10 to 10.0.0.150, and we're going to see at the leases here. As you can see, this got that IP address is here 10.10.0.0.10. It's got the IP address here. We're gonna see here the computer name is desktop-HC77R1LJ 7R1LJ here, and the IP address is 10.0.0.10 10.0.0.10. So which means this Windows 10 workstation got an IP address from the DHCP server, and I have my other devices also got the IP address from this DHCP server. My Ubuntu machine got that also here.